Commissioners. I'll call the meeting to order. I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Present.
Commissioner Thompson,
Present.
Commissioner May,
Present.
Commissioner Unger, Mayor Wilkerson.
Present. We have a quorum, and we'll first open it up for citizens' comments. Do you have any citizens' comments?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay. First on the agenda is a presentation tonight from Andy McDonald and Walt Baldwin. And I saw them on the line earlier. Let's see. Are you all there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Hi, Andy.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
I've shared my screen.
Okay. We can see it. Can everyone else see that? Great. Sure, if you'd like to present, and if we have any questions at the end, we'll ask you the questions there.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you all for your time today. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all. So my name is Andy McDonald, and I'm with Apogee Climate and Energy Transitions. We're a program of Earth Tools, which is a business located in Owen County, and Apogee's located in Frankfort. And today I'm going to share with you a proposal based on a report that Walt Baldwin and I published earlier this month called Local Solar, Local Savings: How to Cut Electricity Costs in Half for Public Schools and Local Governments in Frankfort. I want to point out that Earth Tools and Apogee has no financial interest in this proposal. We're not proposing to build this or sell anything to the community. We're proposing this as kind of a community interest. Neither Walt nor I have any financial interest in this proposal. So what we're proposing, we have analyzed the electricity requirements for the city government, the county government, and our 2 school districts, and have determined that a 20 megawatt solar facility could meet 100% of the electricity costs of the electricity needs, 100% of the electricity needs for these agencies. A 20 megawatt solar facility would be ground mounted and would occupy about 150 acres. And the intention is that this would be in Franklin County, and it would be on 1 or 2, possibly 3 sites somewhere in the county, and would be interconnected to the Frankfort Plant Board's electricity grid. To meet all of the electricity requirements for these 4 agencies. And we estimate that with a power purchase agreement with a private solar developer, we would be able to get a power purchase price of about 4.5 cents per kilowatt hour, which is half of the current rate paid by the city, the county, and the schools. Altogether, these 4 agencies would save over $1.2 million in their annual electricity costs at this rate. You can see in the chart on the screen, the city of Frankfort would save about $600,000 per year on their electricity costs. By using a power purchase agreement with a third-party private developer, the developer would be able to finance the entire cost of the project. So there would be no upfront cost to the city, the county, or the school districts. There would be no maintenance or no ongoing maintenance costs, as the developer would be responsible for that for the life of the project. These PPAs of this type typically have a 15 to 25-year term, and so the rate for the solar would be fixed for the life of the project. So the way the project would work would be we would require the support of the Frankfort Plant Board, and we would use a virtual net metering policy. that would allow the city, the county, and the schools to develop a power purchase agreement with the developer. Virtual net metering is an extension of the existing net metering policy that the plant board has. You can see in this photograph on this slide, this is the Juniper Hill Park, the roof of the pro shop. And in 2018, Earth Tools developed this project as a solar lease in which Earth Tools leases the solar equipment to the city, to the Parks Department, and at a rate of 7 cents per kilowatt hour. And that offsets the electricity that they would otherwise buy from the plant board, which costs 8.95 cents per kilowatt hour. And so the Earth Tools paid for the installation of this project and pays all the maintenance costs, and once a year bills the city for the electricity produced by the solar array. Net metering allowed the solar array to be interconnected with the plant board's meter, and whenever the solar array produces more power than the building needs, the Parks Department receives a credit on their bill, and that credit gets used in the future, for instance, on cloudy days or in the wintertime when there's less sun available. So we can design a system using net metering that would meet 100% of a building's annual electricity needs. We would extend this concept to make it a virtual net metering policy so that a ground-mounted array at a central location could produce electricity that could be allocated to the various meters and accounts that the city has, as well as the county and the school districts. And this has a number of advantages in that it provides an economy of scale. We can build one project in one location rather than building multiple projects on multiple buildings. It's less costly to build one central ground-mounted project than to build numerous roof-mounted projects. In addition, not every roof is suitable for solar panels, and there isn't enough roof area among the city's buildings for the city to produce 100% of its electricity needs anyway. And so this is a mechanism that allows each of these 4 agencies to serve all of their electricity needs in an efficient manner. And we oriented this project to include these 4 agencies because all 4 of these serve the community. They're all supported by taxpayers in the community. And so the benefits flow to all members of the community because they're all served by these 4 agencies. And rather than spending so much money on electricity, these agencies can use the savings to provide better services to their community. This proposal, Frankfort has a unique opportunity in Kentucky to offer a project like this. Municipal utilities like the FPB are not regulated by the Public Service Commission, and they don't have private shareholders. It's not an investor-owned utility. It exists to serve the community. So the FPB offers Frankfort an opportunity to do something that you can't do in Lexington or Louisville or a lot of other cities in the state. We can leverage this special opportunity to provide multiple benefits to our community using solar energy. In addition, most school districts in the state also are underneath the investor-owned utilities or the cooperatives, and they simply would not allow an arrangement like this. However, the Frankfort Plant Board could. The Frankfort Plant Board is governed by a board of local community members, and if it saw this as beneficial to its customers, it could choose to allow an arrangement like this. There are other communities in the state and in the country that are developing similar projects. For example, Cincinnati is installing an 80 or 100 megawatt solar facility in Ohio to serve its municipal load as well as some of its customers' loads. Henderson Municipal Utility in Western Kentucky is building a 50 megawatt solar array to serve its community. In Arkansas, there are school districts that have put in multiple megawatt solar arrays, and a recent article described how those school districts were able to increase teacher salaries with the savings from the solar project. And so This is a special opportunity that Frankfort has, as well as the other municipal members of the KYMEA, which is the Frankfort's wholesale power supplier. And so, we'd like to see Frankfort take advantage of this kind of opportunity. Now, the benefits to the community are obviously the reduced operational costs for each of your agencies will help you provide more services to the community. In addition, by locking in low electricity rates for 15 or 20 years, that would improve your financial stability for a long time. There would be economic development associated with the construction. This would be a $25 to $35 million investment in Franklin County. And so there would be tax advantages to this kind of economic development. There would be reduced carbon emissions. Frankfort, the city of Frankfort is a signatory to the mayor's climate protection agreement. This would be a major step in that direction. We would reduce our carbon emissions by over 23,000 tons. That's based on the KYMEA's power portfolio, which is largely coal generation and some natural gas and a little bit of hydro. And so in addition, there would be public health benefits from improved air and water quality because there would be burning less coal in Western Kentucky. And so there would be less particulate emissions in our air. And we'd also be demonstrating Frankfort's leadership in the areas of clean energy and economic development. Now, in our report, we also detail the benefits to the Frankfort Plant Board because the Plant Board is a major stakeholder in this project. And we wanted to highlight that there would be benefits to the Plant Board also. And so in our report, we simulated how we used computer software to simulate how a 20 megawatt solar facility would function in Frankfort using actual weather data for Frankfort. And the Plant Board's rates of their energy costs include peak demand charges. So each month, in the 15 minutes when the Frankfort uses the most power, that determines what their power cost will be for that month. And if the Plant Board can reduce that peak each month, they can reduce their costs. And so a solar facility, particularly in the summertime, when lots of people are running their air conditioners on a hot summer afternoon, that's when the solar facility would be producing its most power. And by generating that power here in Frankfort on our grid, it reduces the demand on the wholesale power supplier. And so the Plant Board's demand goes down, which means their costs would go down. And we analyzed using the Plant Board's actual load data for 7 or 8 different years, what the Plant Board's savings would have been if they'd had this facility on their grid over those years. And we found that the Plant Board's total savings would be on the order of $1.8 million per year. And in addition to those savings, there would be hedging against the risk of future carbon pricing. With the Biden administration very serious about fighting climate change, it's considered likely that there may be a carbon price in coming years. If there is a carbon price, those costs could flow back to the Plant Board's ratepayers because of the heavy carbon intensity of the KYMEA's power supply. And so if we can take a big chunk out of that carbon intensity, we can reduce costs for the FPB. Currently, the European Union uses a carbon price of $40 a ton. So in our report, we referenced what the savings would be if the Plant Board were to be faced with a $40 per ton carbon price. And the savings that this project alone would provide would be over $900,000 at that price. In addition to this, the KYMEA is currently deciding how to meet its future power supply. They see 130 megawatts of coal and natural gas coming off their portfolio in 2022. And so they're considering how they need to meet that, if at all. And so if their customers, the Plant Board, can reduce their needs, the KYMEA won't have to invest in new coal or natural gas supplies or new market contracts. And that's like an insurance policy. That is to say, this project would function like an insurance policy. It would protect the community against the risks of investing in new long-term power supplies. And so that's another value of this project. In addition, there are transmission costs to getting power from the KYMEA to Frankfort. And so if we're generating 20 megawatts here in Frankfort, we're more insulated against fluctuations in the transmission price. Now, I will note that the plant board will see a decline in revenue as a result of this project, because they would not be selling approximately 29 million kilowatt hours each year to the FPB, or I'm sorry, to the city, the county, and the schools. And so losing those 29 million kilowatt hours would end up having reduced revenue of about $2.6 million a year. So they've got savings of 1.8 million plus a possible carbon price savings, which could be on the order of $800,000, $900,000, and then reduced revenue of about $2.6 million. And so there is a net reduction in revenue of about $800,000 for the FPB. So the FPB board and staff needs to weigh the value of the project relative to that reduction in revenue. And we foresee them talking with the city commissioners, the fiscal court, and the school boards about the overall value of this project to the community. When we weigh the value of the community savings of $1.2 million against the reduced revenue, the net reduced revenue of the FPB of $800,000, overall, the community still comes out ahead. And when you factor in the other forms of risk that are being avoided, we believe that there's overall a great deal of benefit and value to the community. And so the next steps for implementing the project, should it go forward, would be for the city, the county, and the school districts to have some kind of agreement to work together to develop a collaborative solar project. And then these agencies would issue a request for proposal and solicit bids from private developers, and then evaluate those bids. And meanwhile, the plant board would approve a virtual net metering policy that would be specific to their municipal customers. It's important to note that these four agencies are in a special rate class, a municipal rate class. And so this policy would apply to those agencies. And so that concludes my presentation. And you can download the full report at apogeeclimate.org. And for anyone listening, we would be happy to repeat this presentation for your community group. And I would be happy to take questions at this time.
Thank you, Andy. I'll open it up for questions. Any other questions? Commissioner Unger.
Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Andy, Walt, I just want to, thank you for your time and for all you do to educate and really just lead the conversation in solar. I believe as the capital city, we really need to lead the way in reducing our carbon footprint. So I appreciate you coming to us as, a new board of commissioners early on to have this conversation. So I know that there's still probably a lot of conversations to be had with the school systems and the county government, but I'm hoping we can, explore this opportunity and move forward in a sustainable way for the city of Frankfort. So, and I'm glad you brought up that Arkansas school because I read that article and shared it on Facebook this past week, and just amazing. If we can save some money on electric and utility costs, then we can pay our teachers more. So just proof that it's worked other places. So why not, have the city of Frankfort and county lead the way. So I'm excited to see where we can go with this, and thank you for all you do.
Thanks.
Any other discussion for our presenters? Commissioner Waldridge.
I just wanted to say thank you both for your presentation. Again, I know I've said in your presentation before, I am for solar. Definitely would love, as Commissioner Unger stated, I would love for us to lead the way, as I said and spoke of in our last meeting with you guys a couple of years ago. My main concern is just making sure that we're working with Frankfort Plant Board solely, that that we are making sure all residents are taken care of. When we start taking away from that, and this is something new for me, so it's something I would definitely have to continue to look into and definitely get some input from Frankfort Plant Board and others. But I want to make sure that all of our residents are protected from increase on this. Taking a huge amount of people off into the solar area could leave a deficit, in the Frankfort Plant Board area. And where does that go? And where is that distribute? Is that distributed over to the other residents, meaning that they may increase? And so for me, that's something that's huge for me. And so as long as we continue to work in that direction of where this solar, gently bringing in solar into Frankfort and the city of Frankfort and the county, that we are keeping all residents in mind here, even those that are not going to be solar focused, that their bills will not be raising and things of that nature because we are bringing in solar. And so that is a huge concern of mine. But I think I spoke with Walt about that last time on another presentation that Andy did. I think I'd asked a couple questions. So that is my main concern. If that can lead the way in this to making sure that we keep rates pretty reasonable and that there's not an increase for those that are not going to be on solar, then I'm all for moving forward, definitely. But keeping everyone in the loop in this as we're moving forward and being able to communicate is going to be efficient and effective for all. Thank you. Thank you guys again for coming.
Thank you.
And I'll jump in here and say that I too think I want to hear the Frankfort Plant Board side, and I want to hear how we would integrate this with them, because we need their buy-in to do this, and see how we can do this to make it not only cost effective for the government and the the school boards as well, but all the residents, and make sure that we're not going to impact anybody unnecessarily or inadvertently. And as a commission, I think we all would agree that it from a PR standpoint, it would be terrific to say that we are a net zero community. I think could we be the first one in the state to say that? If so, I think that would make a huge statement. So we're on board for that, I'm sure. But we want to make sure that we consider all the perspectives on this as well. One question I have is, so the megawatts, is it 20 or is it 25 that are we needing to power the four entities here?
20.
It's 20 megawatts.
20?
Yes.
Okay. And so the RFP that would be put out there, we would then find the developer to do this. We don't have anyone in mind, is that correct?
No, we do not. It would need to be an open RFP.
And when you say 150 acres, could that be, it's already decentralized if you're doing it virtual net metering, could that be spread across the entire city? Rooftops?
No, we envision it would be at one, two, or three locations. The economy of scale is really reached when you're building megawatts at one site. And so we don't envision this would be built on buildings. We don't have specific sites in mind. We think in the RFP process, the developers would look around and recommend the best sites.
Okay. And the planning board, they hired a consultant? I think that's correct. Did they hire a consultant to look at this?
They said that they have, yes, and they expect to have a report back to their board by April 20th.
Okay. So maybe after that comes back, we can look at this again. Any other questions?
I think Commissioner May had something.
Commissioner May, sorry,
Hey, no worries. Thank you.
small screen.
Mr. Baldwin, Mr. McDonald, thank you very much again for taking the time, as everyone said. I did want to just publicly let everybody know that I'm excited for this. I think it's got a lot of potential, and I agree that we should continue to work with the other agencies here to figure out a way to do it. Could you talk a little bit about, so at the end of, I guess, a panel's life cycle, what kind of ends up being the impact on the land itself? And then how do people use that land in other ways during these projects, and what can it lead to? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. There are a variety of options for how the land can be utilized during the life of the project. There's now a lot of work being done on integrating solar arrays with farming, with agriculture in one form or another. There are farmers who are grazing sheep or pasturing poultry on these facilities. There's the opportunity to develop pollinator habitat, to develop wildflowers for increasing pollinator habitat. The land impact is fairly minimal. Generally, the array is mounted on posts that are driven to the ground. And so there's fairly minimal soil compaction. And in the contract with the developer, we can put in terms that would concern the decommissioning of the project and the return to its original state. Walt and I certainly are concerned that the land not be harmed, and if anything, be regenerated over the life of the project. And that when it's all done, all the equipment could be removed. There may be some access drives and a pad to put some inverters on, but that would be a minimal proportion of the site. And so the site should be able to be returned to full agriculture when the project is done. And the developer would be responsible to remove all the equipment, all the wiring when it's over.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Discussion? Okay. Well, Walt, Andy, thank you for the presentation. It's good information. It's exciting, and let's see how we can work this into our community, and look forward to seeing what happens here. So thank you.
Thanks for your time. Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. So our city manager, Tommy, be so kind to walk us through this.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, y'all. Number one, minutes, February 3rd, 2021, special meeting, February 8th, 2021, special work session, February 22, 2021, special regular meeting. Number two, skid steer loader, recycle container purchase, solid waste. Purpose of this memo is to request approval for the Division of Solid Waste to purchase a new Caterpillar skid steer loader and 4 recycle containers, and for the mayor to sign all related documents. Budget amendment for the total amount of the purchase is $74,627.02. The city was awarded $62,000 from a recycle grant from the state of Kentucky at the beginning of the fiscal year. Both items will be purchased under Kentucky state contract pricing. Number three, Frankfort Fire Department, Station 1 concept letter from Branstetter Carroll. Fire Department is requesting approval to continue services with Branstetter Carroll and to provide a program review, concept floor plans, concept site plan, building elevation, concept rendering for Frankfort Fire Department Station 1, an amount of $8,500, until authorize the mayor to sign all related documents. Funds have been budgeted and are available in 2 separate accounts. 4, mowing contract. Authorization of an agreement with Greenway Landscape Services to provide mowing, weed eating, and bush hogging services in accordance with the stated specifications found in the city's invitation to bid, and to authorize the mayor to sign all related documents. The bids were tabulated by the Finance Department Purchasing Division, and Greenway Landscape Services was the low bid. Number 5, Protective Railing Pensley Thoroughbred Trail Project. The purpose of this agenda item is to seek the Board of Commissioners to approve a bid and enter into contract with Adams Contracting, LLC out of Lexington, Kentucky, to provide the safety protective railings for the Pensley Thoroughbred Trail Project. They were low bidders at $164,640 and have a significant amount of experience in similar types of projects and met the technical specifications and requirements of the bid. Pending requested budget amendment, funds are available in the city's capital funds project. Number 6, request for approval to waive the Housing Authority of Frankfort 2020 pilot waiver. Request for approval to waive the payment in lieu of taxes pilot for 2020 for the Housing Authority of Frankfort, and authorize the mayor to sign any related documents. Finance requests the Board of Commissioners approve the payment waiver of the payment in lieu of taxes for the calendar year 2020. Number 7, purchase of 5 bus shelters. Transit requests the award of a contract to the lowest bidder, Brasco International, for the purchase of 5 bus shelters in the amount of $36,000, and to authorize the mayor to sign all related documents. The shelters will be 100% reimbursed through grants funds. Number 8, purchase of 5 bus shelter pads. Transit requests award of a contract to the lowest bidder, Owl Creek Construction, for the construction of 5 bus shelter pads in the amount of $33,100, and to authorize the mayor to sign all related documents. The shelter pads will be 100% reimbursed through grants funds. 9, Streetlight Materials awards of contract Pace Contracting LLC Tiger Grant Project. City of Frankfort recently advertised and received bids for streetlight poles, fixtures, and pedestrian signal poles for the 2nd Street Tiger Grant Project. Cost of these materials would be paid with 100% federal Tiger funds. Also, the Board of Commissioners to authorize the mayor to sign all related documents. Mine says 10 was removed. Number 11, 2021 composting grant. Staff requests the commission to consider authorizing the submission of a 2021-2022 Kentucky Pride Fund composting grant application to the Kentucky Division of Waste Management Recycling Assistance Section for the costs related to yard waste and composting, such as equipment, advertising, and educational materials, and authorizing the mayor to sign all grant-related documents. Personnel costs for yard waste leaf collection exceeds $180,000, which more than meets the 25% match requirement. Personnel costs exceed the 25% match requirement for the grant. There would be no additional cash match required. 12, 2021 recycling grant. Staff requests the commission to consider authorizing the submission of a 2021-22 Kentucky Recycling Grant application to the Kentucky Division of Waste Management Recycling Assistance Section for costs related to recycling, such as equipment, advertising, educational materials, and authorizing the mayor to sign all grant documents. Personnel costs again exceed the 25% match requirement. There would be no additional cash match required. 13, personnel action, promotion, Kayla Newton, E911 3221 Telecommunications 1 to Telecommunicator 1 TAC. Resignation, Herb Wilson, Police 3521, Patrol Officer 3, authorized payout of accrued leave. Resignation, Rick Skelton, PW Transit 21821, Transit Driver, authorized payout of accrued leave. Appointments, Victor Valdivia, Fire EMS 32321, Firefighter 1. Appointment, Heather McAlpin, Fire EMS, 3/23/21 firefighter 1. Appointment David Tanis, Fire EMS, 3/23/21 firefighter 1. Appointment Blake Blanford, Fire EMS, 3/23/21 firefighter 1. Appointment Madison Kleinhens, Fire EMS, 3/23/21 firefighter 1. Appointment Jeffrey Cole Haney, Fire EMS, 3/23/21 firefighter 1.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the consent calendar items.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, I will sponsor this number 1 second reading.
Thank you.
Are you ready for me to read it, Mayor?
I am ready. I'll call on Solicitor Ross. And do we need a sponsor for second readings or just?
We do not need sponsors for second readings, just first readings.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sponsored the first reading, didn't I know?
You may have.
Okay, I want to make sure. I was making sure I'm still.
Probably did.
An ordinance rezoning property located near the intersection of Brighton Park Boulevard and Versailles Road with the address of 452 Versailles Road, more specifically described as PBA map number 085000016.01 from limited commercial district to general commercial district. This ordinance approves a zone map amendment for the property with the address of 452 Versailles Road, more specifically described as PBA map number 085000016.01 from limited commercial district to general commercial district.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. I'll call on Solicitor Ross for the next action item.
An ordinance rezoning property located at the intersection of Martin Luther King Boulevard and the East-West Connector with the address of 101 Martin Luther King Boulevard, more specifically described as PBA map number 075000004.04 from limited commercial district and residential B district, to limited commercial district. This ordinance approves a zone map amendment for the property with the address of 101 Martin Luther King Boulevard, more specifically described as PBA map number 075000004.04 from limited commercial district and residential B district to limited commercial district.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Action item number 3, second reading. Solicitor.
An ordinance amending section 40.22A of the City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances relating to fire department original appointments. This ordinance amends section 40.22A of the City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances to lower the age requirement from 21 years of age to 19 years of age upon date of appointment to the Frankfort Fire Department.
Motion to approve. Sorry.
We have a second.
I'll second. That's fine. Sorry, I thought you all had sponsored it.
I didn't hear the second.
I'll take the second.
We have a motion.
Kelly May, I think Commissioner May seconded it,
Okay.
or vice versa.
Commissioner Waters, we have a second with Commissioner May. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, moving on to action item number 5, second reading. I will call on Solicitor Ross.
An ordinance amending section 40.21 of the City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances relating to Police Department original appointments. This ordinance amends section 40.21B1 of the City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances relating to Police Department original appointments to allow patrol officer interviews to occur when the Civil Service Board is convened for other interviews, i.e. fire police promotional interviews or fire original appointment interviews.
Move to accept.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll go to action item number 6, first reading.
I'll sponsor.
Commissioner Waters sponsors.
And-
So
I'm sorry, are we on action item number 5 or number 6?
I thought we were at number 5, but I thought maybe I messed up. So.
Number 5. I'm just making sure I'm on the right one.
Yeah, I thought it was number 5, but I didn't want to. I thought maybe I messed up.
That's me. Okay.
Okay.
Action item number 5, second reading. Solicitor Ross, please.
An ordinance amending section 40.23 of the City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances relating to Police Department promotions. This ordinance amends section 40.23A of the City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances relating to Police Department promotions to set the following promotional eligibility requirements. Sergeants in higher rank must serve 1 year in the next lower rank. Officers hired as original appointments must serve a total of 48 months. Officers hired through the accelerated process must have completed a total of 72 months of service as a sworn officer, including time at another agency without disciplinary actions, with a minimum of 24 months of service with the Frankfort Police Department, and officers hired through the retiree process are not eligible for promotion due to serving on a year-to-year basis under contract.
To approve.
We have a second? Motion?
I'll second.
The motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 No opposed? Now we'll move on to action item number 6, first reading. And I think Commissioner Waters has already sponsored this. So Solicitor Ross.
An ordinance rezoning property located on Wilkinson Boulevard with the address of 954 Wilkinson Boulevard, more specifically described as PVA map number 061000080.00 from General Commercial District and Low Density Multifamily Residential District to High Density Multifamily Residential District. This ordinance approves a zone map amendment for the property with the address of 954 Wilkinson Boulevard, more specifically described as PVA map numbers 061000080.00 from General Commercial District and Low Density Multifamily Residential District to High Density Multifamily Residential District.
Move to second.
Commissioner Thompson, do you have a second?
Commissioner May was second.
Okay, Commissioner Waters, second.
No, Commissioner May.
What I'm hearing? Everybody's muted or not. That's not active here. And a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, no opposed?
I believe you're muted, Mayor.
Thank you. Move on to action item number 7, and is Chief Adams on the line? Or we could turn it over to, oh, there you are. Chief, you have the floor.
So, we attempt at the police department to keep a well-running fleet, and we keep a bare minimum of cars also at the same time. So we are attempting to replace 2 cars that really aren't worth keeping anymore. And so with previous talks with the last city manager, he said to come back. We asked originally for 5 cars, and he said, let's go with 3 from the beginning, and then we'll see where we're at closer to the end of the budget year. So now and he said, bring it back and ask for the other 2. So that is what I am doing. The 2 cars that we're trying to replace are in awful condition. They look awful. They're some of the last ones that were put together that were not put together by a professional organization necessarily, and not to knock the city garage and those who did the work on them at the time, but they didn't necessarily always have the training to do the work that needs to be done. And so these cars really aren't worth saving. So I'm just asking that we replace them and be allowed to purchase 2 new cars. If we start to not keep up with how many cars we need to get each year, it'll only get worse. The fleet costs will only continue to increase as far as repairs and that type of thing. So these are also the last models of the Crown Vics. We have 4 of them left, I believe. These are 2 of them. Ford quit making these after this model year that we're talking about getting rid of. So they're in bad shape.
Thank you, Chief. Do we have any discussion on this? For the chief?
Mayor, do you need a motion to approve this purchase?
We do.
I would so move.
Second.
We have a motion, and we have a second. Do we have any other discussion on this action item? I'll ask the clerk to please call for a vote.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger, Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to action item number 8. Fire Department surplus and order. Is Chief Briscoe on the line?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon.
Please.
With the delivery of our last ambulance at the beginning of the year, we transitioned and took our oldest unit out, and we've been working with Mr. Sanders out at the Career Technical Center, and he had inquired about taking on our surplus old ambulance as a training aid for their first aid and EMT program. They're trying to get up and going at the vocational school at Franklin County. And I think it's a great donation, a great partnership, and be something to add and hopefully to keep the EMS profession moving forward.
Commissioner Thompson.
Chief, is there any cost to remove the state-approved lettering and things of that nature that we'll need to do to make sure that that happens before it's surplus and given to the schools?
We typically do all that in-house.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
We have a
I'll
motion.
second. I'll second that.
Ask the clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Waldridge,
I'd like to say yes, and I'd like to say this is a great idea. Thank you for partnering with our schools. If we can do more and more of that, I look forward to doing that. So awesome job, Wayne. Thank you.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes, I'd also like to say that this is a great program. I have a 20-year history with EMS and fire, and I think this is fantastic to get into the career and technical program and get that program up and running and see where it can go. Thank you.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes. Motion carries. Action item number 9, fiscal year 2022 transportation grants and resolution.
Is Rebecca, do you see Rebecca anywhere, Mayor?
Not active. Not an active camera at least, but she's on the line. There she is. I think, there you are.
I'm here. This is just the annual transit grant that we typically ask for. That you can see, I think you all got the chart that we put together with the 5311 operating, which is typically reimbursed 50%, and the 5311 administration, which is typically reimbursed 80%, and then the 5339 capital and 5311 capital also are usually reimbursed 80%. Now, having said that, the current fiscal year that we're in, Transportation Cabinet has actually reimbursed us 100% because of COVID. And we talked to them, and they feel like they have enough money to carry us through 100% probably until the end of the first quarter of this fiscal year, but there's no guarantee. That's why we put the numbers on here as they would typically be. They won't be any more than that, but they could be considerably less. These are just the annual resolutions that we have to pass to participate in the transit system. And I will point out, you can see the 5339 capital and the 5311 capital are identical. We just apply for both of those grants, everything that we want. We won't get both of them, but they may have more money in one than the other. That's why we go ahead and apply to both of them, kind of better our odds.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second, Commissioner Unger. All those, well, I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll on this one.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes, and I just want to thank you for Rebecca just always continuously getting these grants for us and continuously reach out for more. So thank you. It saves us budget dollars. Thank you.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes. That motion carries unanimously. And that brings us to action item number 10, Capital City Museum surplus and order. And is this for Sean on the line or there we are, Sean. You're next.
Yes, good evening. As you know, the museum is undergoing a renovation project, has been for a while now. And on a side note, if you get a chance to go down there and take a tour, I think we can arrange that. The museum is looking outstanding. I think, Mayor, you've seen some of the progress down there, and it is outstanding. You're going to be very proud of the museum, even more so when it gets completed. But part of that project, just removing some outdated window blinds, window shades, ceiling fans from 15, 20 years ago, an old receptionist desk, and some old fluorescent ceiling lights, not energy efficient. A lot of them are just outdated, aren't in that great a condition. And as we renovate the museum and go with all new lighting, new window shades, they're just not useful to us anymore. And I do believe that Andy Ferris with Public Works has taken a look at the items and doesn't really see a need in other city departments for them. So we're asking to surplus those items.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Commissioner May? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Unger. All right, clerk, please call the roll, please.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes, and if I can say, I was on the board of the Capital City Museum, former president, and it is looking outstanding. It's going to be amazing when it's finally open to the public. And thank you to Penny Peebler, who's also our new strategic initiatives consultant. She helped out tremendously with that. So I'm excited to see the results. Okay. Motion carries. Okay. And next up on the action items is the CDBG CB Utility Relief Grant and Resolution. And we'll move it back to Rebecca.
This is the program that the governor announced about 6 weeks ago, the Utility Relief Fund. It is actually moved, the money is actually flowing through the Department for Local Government's Community Development Block Grant. This is just the first step in getting started with that. Once you all pass the resolution, we will have a public meeting to let citizens know how to apply for that and what the eligibility requirements are and that sort of thing. So this is just kind of the first step in that process.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a second. All those in favor? Well, clerk, please call the roll. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes. Motion carries. Next action item, invasive species City County Task Force Resolution. And Solicitor Ross, may I call on you to read the resolution?
A resolution supporting an invasive species task force in Frankfort, Franklin County. Whereas invasive plant infestations are spreading throughout the city and county, degrading our community's economic, environmental, cultural, and aesthetic well-being. And whereas left unchecked, invasive plant infestations result in increased maintenance in public infrastructure, loss of mature trees along waterways, which leads to flooding, erosion, and property damage, diminishing tourism, recreation, and wildlife habitat due to compromised aesthetic values, decrease in agricultural productivity as non-natives encroach upon fields and contaminate crops, and compromised ecological functions and destabilization of natural systems due to loss of native species. And whereas Remove Invasives Partnership Franklin County proposes a joint city-county task force to address the problem, now therefore be it resolved by the City of Frankfort Board of Commissioners as follows. The City of Frankfort supports establishment of a community task force to study the issue of invasive species infestations in Frankfort and Franklin County and provide step-by-step actions and a recommended management plan in order to address the problem in a comprehensive manner.
Any discussion about the resolution? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
We have a second. Wait, there was was that Commissioner Unger with the motion? Okay, it's hard to hear.
Sorry.
That's okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner May with a second. Okay. Any discussion? Well, I'll just say this is a resolution, so the task force will be created. They'll come back to us with recommendations, and then we can determine whether or not that's something, what we can do. They're going to come back to us with recommendations, is my understanding. Okay. I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes. Motion carries. Action item number 13, the Arts Master Plan. Yes.
Mayor, I'm gonna ask Ms. Ross to kind of explain that a little bit. We had to look into some things. I think the Arts Master Plan, this is something we have to move on right now, but it's got some far-reaching implications to it, right, Ms. Ross?
It does have far-reaching implications. If you all have looked at the accompanying ordinance and policies, they are pretty comprehensive. They do call for a new committee, eventually a new position, some additional duties on some existing city departments, some differences in the way we handle things like murals throughout the city of Frankfort. So basically, we just want to make sure you're aware that those items may take a while to implement. But my understanding is that we can move forward with approval and work on implementing those as time allows.
Commissioner Waters.
I do remember the last presentation that they had, and they had hiring someone for this particular position. I'm assuming that will come out of the city's budget. Is that what I'm assuming, Laura? Am I assuming correctly? Are they wanting us to hire someone, or is that coming out of another budget? That would come out of our budget, correct?
It would come out of our budget.
And so with that being said, I just really want us to take this in consideration, as that's another, salary. I'm very supportive of the arts, but we've just hired Ms. Peebler. We're looking at a city manager. I just don't want to duplicate services, and I also don't want to continue to hire things. We have Blair, we also have Rebecca Hall. They're starting to become a lot of blur lines and people that we're hiring. And I just really want us to, I know we all support the arts, but especially in hiring another position, we need to make sure that those lines are not blurred and that we are duplicating services over and over between Ms. Peebler on things that she could do in her title, Miss Rebecca Hall, Miss Blair as well. And she's special projects such as the Yifty thing. Could she work with the arts in this area, making sure that we're using what we have in office and who we have in office and making sure we're keeping them busy before we continue to hire more. So that is one thing in this particular budget that I definitely am not 110% supportive of at this time, is to another salary or another contract position until we know that the ones that we already have on our staff could not handle what they're asking for.
Yes, Solicitor Ross.
And just to ease your mind a bit, Commissioner Waldridge, the good news about this program is that it does contemplate that this is going to be a lengthy process, and that hiring someone may come later. There may be existing staff, as you've kind of alluded to, that we can utilize. So it's nothing that would have to happen quickly, and it is open to our own evolution and change as we need to. So we can work on the elements of the project as we go forward.
Hire someone. We're just sort of we could make sure as a commission that we're saying, okay, this is what you need done. Well, Ms. Hecker or Ms. Hall or Ms. Peebler can take up those duties underneath of what is already listed as their duties as the city.
That's right. And we would bring the individual elements of the project to you all for approval as they come ready.
Okay. I'm okay with that one then. Okay. I just did not want to go with a complete salary this time. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Russell.
I think one of the reasons this got on the agenda was that we were in a time crunch to get the grant funding okayed for this. And then it gave us a considerable amount of time as to when we would implement all the things that were needed on this. But I think for us to recover our monies, we had to approve that now.
And if I may say, this to me is one of those strategic initiatives where I think we could put into the portfolio of Mrs. Peebler, because she has the arts background. And I don't want to speak on her behalf, but worked at the Speed Museum and is on a couple of boards in Louisville, where this might be the thing we could put it in her portfolio. In the meantime, oh, there you are. Penny, would you like to say something on that? I hate to put you on the spot, but
Sure. I am currently the vice chair of the Arts and Culture Master Plan for Louisville with Roger Cood from Humana. And yeah, I have 30 years of experience in the arts, and I would be glad to shepherd aspects of the plan and look at, as Commissioner Waldridge said, dividing the work into feasible and doable chunks, and looking at making sure that we're letting everybody do what they do best while moving the plan forward. We were fortunate to get an NEA grant, an NEA Our Town grant, which is extremely competitive, to execute this plan. And there's a lot of opportunity here. We've had a generous donor who's been involved, and we want to make sure that we honor that good work and continue to move the project forward. So I'd be happy to help with that. Thank you.
any other discussion on the Arts Master Plan?
Move to approve.
Okay, motion,
I'll second.
second, Commissioner Unger. All those in favor, well, I keep getting ahead of myself. I'm going to let the clerk roll on this one.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes. And that motion carries. Next action item, we have a flood update. I will turn this over to Mr. Russell.
Thank you, sir. I think after the last meeting or work session, I sent you all an email, a pretty lengthy email on what we'd been through, where we'd gone, what we'd done. I believe as of, let's see, Friday, I'm thinking we had to have our damage assessments done and turned in, and I think we ended up with 34 individual structures, and I think we've got maybe 3 businesses that were updated. So all of that information will go to KYM. They will seek a presidential declaration for this emergency. I think the state was already up to $20 million, and the state's threshold was 7 million or 8 million, something like that. We will surpass the $175,000 needed to get FEMA assistance in here for us. The one big thing for us right now is Public Works measured the Riverview Park damage to the bank, and is roughly 800 feet of bank that's been compromised. We have filed on that twice, and generally after the second time, FEMA most of the time looks favorably on a mitigation project for that park. So that will help, even though it's 75-25. There's no sense us keep putting money into that park if we can't hold the bank on there. It'll just wash every time that we get a flood. So that said, for everything that's going on down at Riverview Park, I think I said Capitol View, but it's Riverview. I have a meeting tomorrow with all those players at Riverview Park to update them and to consider moving those players up to Blanton's Landing if we get a FEMA mitigation project and we have construction going on into the summertime.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. Do we have any discussion on the floods? Okay. Well, we'll move on to the Blanton's Landing update. And is Eric available?
Evening, everybody. So where we are on Blanton's, we've received the first couple drafts of the draft feasibility study with some exhibits, and then the pro forma that Pros Consultants put together that includes a lot of the programmatic things and the kind of expenses and revenues to start giving us an idea of what that facility would take operationally. So we've been going through that, generate lots of comments from staff. We actually just went over some of those numbers last Friday. to start generating some of our questions for where they're coming up with their assumptions, and to kind of continue our discussion with them about programmatically some of the events and or activities and facilities that they've kind of included in their analysis. There's quite a bit there. And so one of our discussions point now is trying to probably come back to them and tighten that up to something that we can help give you all the most realistic picture we can. While I think it's valuable to really show the best version of this facility, because we certainly want to do it right if we end up continuing down that road and finding a way to fund it and do it. We also want to make sure that we give you all the most realistic kind of picture for what that payback might look like, what those maintenance costs are going to be, most importantly, as you go, in addition to, you know, our estimates for construction. So we're working on that with the consultants, and certainly hopefully in April, we'll be able to bring that back to you all, present it, get your comments, any additional changes, and then have the commission view that report, and then we can move towards discussing the next steps, if there are any, depending on the commission's, you know, opinion of the feasibility study. So I'm happy to answer any questions you all might have.
Commissioner Unger.
Can you talk to some of the like public comments and maybe what were some of those top like programmatic events that people wanted to see?
Yeah, so we've been fortunate, as you all know. It's rare that you ever get a wide swath of the public to support any particular project, but thus far this has been one of those, fingers crossed, that most folks to a degree or another seem to think it's a meaningful project if we can figure out a sustainable way to do it. In terms of programmatically, the things that we've heard the most are a lot of the things that dovetail with Director Pickens' park master plan, where they reference just general access to the river, opportunity to get to the water, additional event space and amphitheater functions and that kind of thing. And so what we've heard kind of duplicates that effort. And so we're hopefully, if we can make this happen, we're sort of getting out ahead of the parks master plan and helping to achieve some of those goals. And so those are the very baseline, I think, most important to the public, that we think we see programmatic portions of this, and then we can get into a lot of the things that they've referenced that I kind of look at as a bit of a grab bag of some which are pretty exciting, some others that are probably a little less realistic for that facility for a number of reasons. But we kind of want to share, you know, hence my comment about revising it a bit, so we can show you all both a wide swath of those things, and then also kind of a simplified, what we think is really achievable. So you have a good picture of how that might look moving forward.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Russell.
And Eric is right. We had a conversation about what's realistic and what's not realistic, to be honest with you. And the good thing about this water level that we just experienced, we've got all those levels captured. So when we start doing docks and riverfront and walkways and things of that nature, we'll have to sit down and have a conversation about how high that needs to be or how it needs to perform and things of that nature, because safety will become a factor into some of those things. So kudos to Mr. Cockley. He's done a really good job with this project so far, and all of our staff.
Any other discussions or questions about the Blanton's Landing project? Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Cochran. See you next time. All right. And next on the agenda item, yes, Commissioner Waters.
And the next thing looks to be the executive session, but we did not, I'm not sure if it was purposely left off, but anything talking about the next agenda. I didn't see that anywhere on here. I don't know if it was just accidentally left off about what we're going to put on the next agenda for the meeting.
Tentative agenda? No.
Okay.
We could talk about that now.
No, it's not on there. I was just wondering
I don't.
why it wasn't on there. If it was purposely left off for the agenda for next week's meeting. I didn't know.
Solicitor Ross.
I think on the regular meeting agenda, we don't typically have that tentative agenda discussion. We usually have it on the work sessions, which is why it's not on here. If that helps clarify it any.
Okay. It didn't seem, sometimes it seems like it gets left off of our work session meeting. Maybe it was the time before left when it got left off and we didn't go over that, but maybe it was not the last meeting, it was the meeting before. So I just want to make sure we have an opportunity to do that. But okay. So I move that we go into executive session per KRS 61.8101F, personnel discussions regarding the status of the interim city manager and new city manager position. Action may be taken in open session.
Second that.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. We'll go into executive session. Cable 10.
Yeah, I just tell Cable 10 we're ready to roll. Cable 10, you on? You're back, Mayor.
Solicitor Ross, did you tell Tommy that we're okay?
Okay. We're back in open session.
Yes, sir. We're back in open session. Sorry.
In the interest of time, is it the will of the board to continue this discussion until a later date, Friday at 2 p.m.?
Yes, I would, if we need a motion for that, I'd move to do that. If it's not, if we don't need a motion, then I would simply state that I think that's the will of the group at this point.
Do we motion to adjourn, Solicitor Ross?
Yes.
Okay. Take a motion to adjourn. I'll entertain that.
Move to adjourn.
Okay. Move a second.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. See you on Friday at 3.
I'm sorry, I'm a nay on that. I'm a nay on adjourning. I'll explain my vote. My vote is that there's business that needs to be handled now and that we need to stop prolonging what needs to happen now for the security of our city and moving forward. And I do not agree that this meeting needs to end now. I would think that this meeting needs to continue so we can have some kind of solace for our community, for us to move on, for a hiring process. But I think that as of right now, I would have to say no, this adjournment is superficial in whatever way, and that we need to continue this conversation in open meeting. Thank you.
Motion carried. See you Friday.